What's up, guys? You know what night it is. It is Thursday night, off-centered with Dustin, the personal finance dad. And we got a lot to talk about. We got Target suspending retail sales of product. And the topic that we really want to share tonight is how we find deals on cards, because there's a lot of ways to find deals. I'm pretty sure Dustin just races cockroaches he finds in his house, and there's little pieces of paper with different players written down on it, and whoever wins the race and whatever the roach runs to first is what he buys. But the real question is, how does he train the roaches to be so aggressive and fast? So we'll definitely be talking to Dustin about that. Without further ado, guys, welcome back. Now let's get to work. Let's bring on our very average guest. Dustin, what's up, man?
Cappuccino at 9 p.m. I got to stay awake for this thing.
Is it just vodka? Just vodka on the rocks?
Yeah. Why is it so clear?
Yeah. What kind of cappuccino is that? Let's say hi to some of you guys here. Mike C, you're always in the house. Appreciate you, bro. South Stands 303. JJ Bama, what's up? Steve and Ryan, good evening to you as well. Michael Ham, go Bucks. Speaking of which, before we dive into our discussion, special shout out to Matt Powers of Power Sports Collectibles for sending me this. Take a look. Rob Gronkowski autographed mini helmet. How cool is that? He just sent it to me.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so I might take it out. Hopefully I don't drop it all over the keyboard. But yeah, pretty sweet. And it goes well with my John Lynch autographed mini helmet as well. So very thankful for Matt. So if you're not familiar with Matt Powers, he has a great YouTube channel as well. And he discusses sports cards, memorabilia, but definitely check out his station and his Instagram, especially if you're interested in memorabilia.
Sorry, I'm just videoing the chat so that I can put it into my next video. That's right.
You're creating content while you're in the stream?
Awesome. Every 9 minutes.
So what's up with you, man? How's everything?
Everything is pretty good. Honestly, I've got a little bit of anxiety. I've got my COVID #2 vaccine tomorrow morning. So I'm kind of like, I'm ready for it, but then I'm also kind of worried that I'm going to be like out of commission all weekend.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that I'm on the fence about getting it now, just because I don't know if I have the antibodies or not. I think it's one of those things where I'll get it at some point. I'm nervous when I hear the occasional person get symptoms or side effects, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to have side effects during a card show or at some point. I kind of want to I'll probably just take the one where it's just one shot and you're done. But I'm sure you'll be fine. And if not, I'll take your subscribers.
Hey, don't think that camera won't be rolling in the hospital.
Yeah. Hey, talk about do a video while you're getting the shot.
Yeah.
That's got to be a thumbnail. Like, that's going to be the perfect time to have more thumbnails created, in the middle of the shot while you realize your arm is on fire.
I create a short like, I'm about to get the shot and I feel kind of weird, and then it just cuts off.
All right. Well, talking about cards, though, anything new on your end since last week?
I did pick up a Baker Mayfield National Treasures RPA. I was talking about last week.
So walk us through how that happened, because you mentioned it, and what was the reasoning for one? Because that's a pretty random card, a Baker Mayfield RPA.
I'm just looking for scarcity, and we've talked about Baker. I like him. I think that he's kind of, I don't know, he's got a chip on his shoulder. I know that he's not necessarily likable to everybody. Some people think he's cocky. I like the team he's on. I think the Browns are kind of ascending. I like them over the next few years, and maybe even longer. I think that Baker's a winner. So I picked this one up, and I've got a few Baker cards, but I picked this one up maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And this is just a regular one. It's numbered out of 99. It's not a patch, but it's a National Treasures auto rookie. And then I found just the other day, it's the same. It's National Treasures patch booklet. You might have seen those where it's like a booklet.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I see them on Instagram. A lot of people are breaking them.
Breaking them open, or actually?
No, I mean, I just see them on breaks on Instagram. I'm like, holy crap, that's more than just a card. That's like a freaking Cheesecake Factory menu.
Well, actually, I'm trying to figure out. I'm glad that we're bringing this up on the chat. If you know how to, I think I've seen like 2 1-touches holding the booklet together or something. I need to figure out. I don't know how it's going to come to me. It's not graded, it's raw. So I need to figure out the best way to protect it. But so anyway, that was my other pickup. And that was something when we had talked about in Dallas that I would be looking for. I'm not necessarily against getting another one, but they're numbered out of 99. So it's not like there's loads of them around. So I don't know. I might just be networking in Dallas mostly. We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be networking myself because I don't think I'll have time. But in terms of what you found with that Baker Mayfield price, I think this was the interesting part when we talk about finding deals. And I don't know if you want to just dive into that or if you want to talk about the whole Target retail thing first. But either one, what do you feel like first?
Well, let's just stay on this since we're already in it.
Okay. So in terms of finding the price and what a price that you felt was good, talk about that because, it's a lot of compare and contrast. And I think you did a good job of finding a good price for a card that's very rare, that's not easy to find a good price of or like a comparable.
So one thing I've noticed, I don't know if you guys that are watching as well have seen this, Brad, you might have seen it too, but I've been getting a lot of buy it now, make best offer where I just watch it and then I end up getting an offer from them. Like it just feels like people are trying to offload stuff for whatever reason. And I'm not saying every card, but if there's a card that I'm targeting that I really like, I make sure that I have it on my watch list because that it gives the opportunity if they are going to make an offer to all the watchers, then you could get potentially a good deal. So the booklet one that I just bought, it was a buy it now. It's $650. He sent, and actually I've never seen one quite like this before, but he or she sent an offer out at $350 coming off of $650.
Wait, what was $650? The last purchase?
Yeah, not this one, but the booklet. I don't have that one yet. It's coming.
Okay. So
he or she had it at $650, sent me an offer at $350. I offered $315 and he or she accepted at $315.
Okay, $315 for that Baker Mayfield RPA.
Numbered out of 99, and it's the booklet one. Yeah, and so the whole thought process behind that is, I've been talking about it. I want scarcity, so I'm not necessarily looking for base prism, whatever. So I want national treasures, I want exquisite, and that sort of thing. And Baker's stuff, I don't know, you might not remember, but about 18 months ago, his stuff was expensive. I mean, like national treasures is like way out of my price range. It's come down. And then I showed you, I sent this to Brad too. I'm like, what is wrong with this picture? I sent him the exact same card essentially for Patrick Mahomes. Granted, it's 2017, not 2018. Numbered out of 99, booklet, sold for $6,800. And there was another one for like $6,500. There's a few sales recently that were between like $6,200 and $7,000. So Baker's booklet is $300 and Mahomes is $6,500. So that's where, and I'm not saying that I don't do that on every transaction, but that's part of where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm finding value here.
Yeah, I do the same where I gotta compare and contrast because it also comes down to just what's the better deal. Especially with a rare card like that. And Mahomes, LeBron, some guys are just the multiplier shouldn't be reasonable. It shouldn't be 2x because even if they're only 20% better than the other player, that 20% means winning Super Bowls versus not getting into the playoffs. So it can't just be like, well, Patrick Mahomes is only 40% better than Baker Mayfield, so his prices should be 40. No, it's like when you're in that superstar stratosphere, it's just silly. However, 20x or something like that?
Yeah, crazy. I mean, we're talking $300 compared to $6,500, $6,800. It's not.
And the risk at 300 with the Browns looking good coming into the season is not that bad, especially considering it is a rare card versus a base Prism PSA 9, PSA 10, which it kind of brings me to what I'm thinking now too, where yes, scarcity matters, but I'm also I know like certain cards I'm going to be targeting for the next NBA season. And one of the guys I want to target is Zion Williamson. But after you see the print run of his Prism PSA 10, PSA 9, it's just like, this is a dime a dozen card. Anyone can have it. And it's still about $500 or $600 right now, but there's 17,000 of them. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, there's a lot of data points, which is good. It's a card that people like, that people know. However, I don't want to compete with 1,000 listings on eBay. And at what point do people go, this card's kind of boring, right? It's just a boring card. I've seen it so much for the last 2 years. I want something else. And there's actually, I'll pull this up because this was going to be an Instagram post that I was going to post in the next couple of days. And I am on Instagram now. I ignore it frequently, but if you want to follow me there, it's the Comeback Card Investor. But this was a comparison I did on 2 cards of Zion. And let me share the screen. Hold on one second. But what's interesting is that if I'm going to invest in someone like Zion for next season, I don't want necessarily to dive into that Prism PSA 10, because even though it is safe and secure in terms of being able to move it, I don't think that that's the best value. So let me share the screen here. I want to hear what you think of this card. You can say hi to people in the comment section while I pull this up.
Yeah, I see that Neo is in the chat. Will Sonny, good to see you, buddy. David Hunter, Ryan McClanahan. I'm going to have Ryan on a subscriber spotlight on Monday night. I'm excited. Ryan is a wealth of card knowledge.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, well, here's the picture right here. So this is a Zion Williamson Optic Hollow PSA 10 versus the Prism Silver PSA 10. So if you take a look here, and like these are just 2 of the cards I was comparing. But if you take a look and confirm with me that you see it. Can you see it okay?
I can see it.
Okay. So you see here, the Optic Hollow, there's 426 right now. And the last price, let me see, the last price, $1,400. The silver, there's 1,200, which is still a very desirable card. People love it, whatnot. There's 1,200 of them, $4,000. So we have a third of the price of the Optic compared to the silver, and a third of the supply of the Optic versus Prism Silver. So that's the point where I'm like, I understand that Prism and Prism Silver is really popular, but at what point do you go, that's like literally 9 times more expensive when you consider 3 times the price and 3 times less the supply. So, I think as we go forward and we all get smarter as investors and collectors, this is going to be the stuff that matters a bit more versus everyone just running out and getting the card that they see the most of. And I think that's just getting more and more advanced as you get in the hobby. But what are your thoughts?
I think the Optic has always been kind of that way. I mean, that's why I've kind of historically I bought Optic and Select over Prism just for that very reason. Not that I don't like Prism cards, because I do like them, but it just seems like, I guess what I ask myself is always, what if the consumer demand changes? What if it goes from Prism to Optic overnight? What if it, what if that changes and then, you're stuck with all the Prisms, or you paid X for the Prisms when the Optics were Y and there was a lot less of them, or whatever, So yeah. I mean, I think about that.
I mean, here's the thing. Prism I feel very safe with, but when there's 17,000 plus in PSA 10, that's too much. Like, that's too far. And then look, if Optic was in line with the prices, I'd just go with Prism because I know people would flock to Prism. But when it's 1/3 of the supply and 1/3 of the price, that's the point where I go, like, look, if you want to invest in Zion in a card that's known, but is not very plentiful, I think Optic Hollow or maybe one of these Prism other parallels make more sense. But that's just me going forward after this football season. Because even right now, I've been stocking up months ago with Kyler Murray Prism-based PSA 10s, and I have 5 of them in PSA and 1 BGS, 1 SGC, and I think it's just an ugly card. I look at it and I'm like, that looks very plain to me. But then I look at his Optics and Selects and others, and I'm like, that's a much better looking card. And I see Kyler Murray's PSA 10 pop just grow, right? It's just going up to I think it's around 2,000 now. And when I bought a handful of them back in January, I think there was around 12 to 1,400. So PSA is catching up. It's a 2019 rookie. So obviously a lot of those cards are being ripped right now or have been ripped in the last few months, and now are just getting sent to PSA or coming back. So it's just one of those things where I feel like I'm kind of done with the base PSA 10s, like the standard cards for now, unless it's a player that is under the radar. And I think that's where it's like a bit of a nuance where if the player is under the radar, like a backup quarterback or someone on the bench, then I want the Prism PSA 10 because that's the first card people are going to search for on eBay the second they come in for the starter or have a 40-point game or hit a game-winning shot. That's what I want the Prism, because they're not looking for the optic pink PSA 10 or BGS 9.5 when they only have that 8-hour or 12-hour window of fame where everyone's talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that once the NBA season ends and then when also teams are eliminated, and now to some degree, I think there's going to be good times. I've been looking at some of the more kind of like with the National Treasures football stuff, looking for more of like the colored basketball stuff and all the stuff that's been super expensive over the last 12, 15 months. That's the stuff I'm looking at because it's like, all right, now it's finally coming down to where it's in striking range. And if the pops are low and it's more scarce and all of that, I can get what I feel to be a good price on it. Because that's been kind of the knock on cards outside of retail. We can go or outside of new product. When we're talking about singles, it's just been everything's expensive. Everything is very, very expensive right now. Now we're actually starting to see it, come down to where you can take some shots at stuff.
Yeah, and I honestly think that right now is a great time to buy for a couple of reasons. And we actually have another guest in the house. I guess his kombucha making workshop ended early because we are joined by Coleman.
What's going on?
How was the make your own kombucha at home workshop that you led? How'd that go?
It caught on fire and burned all my hair off, so now I'm starting from scratch.
Did you actually cut your hair or no?
No. It's still long. I got the man bun and everything.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, it's poking right through. Yeah, very erect. Very nice.
That's how we do it.
How's it going with you?
It's going well. We just got here to the show in Wisconsin Dells, and I'm just in the convention center right now, and I just set up my laptop. So thanks for having me. What's going on, Dustin?
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you as well, man.
Let me do something. How does that look? Yeah, there we go. Let's do that for a bit. All right, so we're talking a bit about what we're seeing in the market right now, which I think it's a good time to buy. I think there's a lot of prices that are actually quite low right now, and Dustin picked up a Baker Mayfield RPA for about $300, and so he was talking about how he believes in Baker for this upcoming year. The Browns are looking good, but also when you compare to the same card for Patrick Mahomes, which is $6,800. Then you just kind of do the multiplier and think, all right, well, if it's 22 times the price, then maybe $350 is a pretty good value considering the upside of Baker. But what's your thoughts right there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you said you hit it right on the head. So you got low downside and high upside, and the margins there, and more importantly, I think you mentioned that he likes the team and everything. So. Apparently, base card collector doesn't, but that's fine because it doesn't matter what he thinks.
Okay, because Basement Sports Cards does. Here's the thing, man. It's all about current value. That's the key phrase right there. For current value, it's not saying I like Baker more than Patrick Mahomes. It's saying for a 22nd of the price or whatever, that is a good value based on what the Browns should do and whatever. And they have a big Week 1 game against the Chiefs, right?
I don't know. I haven't seen the new schedule.
I believe it's Browns versus Chiefs in Week 1. So imagine if the Browns actually beat the Chiefs in Week 1, you might have an opportunity to offload that card right there because now you see Baker could actually lead the Browns ahead of the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. If, people will be thinking that if the Browns actually win. So I'm in the same boat. But in terms of let's go into finding deals because that's what we really wanted to talk about.
I've got a question for Coleman here because I'm glad that he's on because I know that you do a lot of shows, Coleman, whereas I'm 99% on eBay and online buying. Are these two different worlds as far as buying cards go? Okay, because I wonder that because we kind of live on eBay, on ComC and whatever. What are you seeing, shows compared to typical eBay sales? Is it, are prices higher, lower? Is it mixed?
It's mixed. It's just it's basically eBay in my opinion, there's a wall up and you can't see what the other person looks like, what they're thinking. it's like playing online poker in a way, in my opinion. Whereas when you're at the table and you're actually talking to the person and looking at them and seeing how they work and stuff, you can kind of, I mean, I don't know if that's a good example, but I guess I just mean it virtual compared to, in person and everything. You can go around, you can, make offers like, and get an answer at the, immediately. You can make a deal happen that fast. There's no shipping involved. And that being said, like cash talks, you can get better deals, and you'd be surprised of how good of deals you can get. And you can go around and you can see a card that nobody else sees because it's not on eBay with thousands of eyeballs on it and stuff like that. So maybe you're the only one that sees it, and it's mispriced or something, and then you grab it for the price tag and you're getting it, for God knows 40-50% off or something, just because that person's into it for nothing and they don't know the new comps are, and they're happy with the price they're getting and stuff. So there's that. There's also the information, the knowledge that you just learn by talking to other people, and the connections that you make talking to some of these old dealers and stuff, and these dudes that do this all the time and stuff, getting their advice and what they're seeing out there and everything. So it's two different worlds. But that being said, if I'm not at shows, I'm on my phone on the couch on eBay, so there's no wrong way to do it. But being at shows is definitely a different beast. And I think it's valuable for anybody who hasn't really pounded the pavement at shows to at least go to shows and, start checking them out. And, even if you're not buying anything, just go and hang out and look around and stuff and see what's available. And, yeah.
The one thing that I've noticed, because I've been to shows and I buy a lot online, it's very easy to eliminate emotion from the equation online, because for me at least. So, I mean, even if the card is on eBay and someone is going to snipe the auction and bid $1 more than me, I'm a lot better at saying no on eBay at home in my environment than at a show where the allure of having the card is very strong. So it's like, if the seller isn't going to go down to the price I want, I might still overpay because I want the card right then and there. But on eBay, I know there's a delay. But maybe that's the way I work and others don't. I just feel like it's very transactional on eBay, which it kind of takes the magic and fun out of it, but also makes it a bit easier to be disciplined if you're the kind of person that gets wrapped up in the environment. It's like you go to a candy shop. If I'm in a candy store, I'm getting all the candy. If I'm buying candy online, I don't taste it. I don't see it. It's just a digital image. I can be a lot more precise and emotionless and more logical than if I'm at the show. So what are your thoughts there?
It's a great point. Because when you're at the show, a lot of times either you drove to it or, you had to cancel something else so you could go to it. So you're invested in the show. So you don't want to leave the show with nothing. You have that impulse to want to get something because you want it to be worth your time and everything. So I have that all the time. There's cards that like I walk away from at shows that it's going crazy in my head, like I should have bought this or something. And then it turns out it was a great thing that I didn't. And it's exactly going along with what you're saying, is the allure of seeing it at a show and knowing that you could have it right there.
What's your game plan at the show? And what's the show again? It's Wisconsin?
The Wisconsin Dells show. Yeah, it's in Madison, just right outside of Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin.
So what took you up to this show? Because I didn't even hear about it. Is this a big show? Have you been here before?
No, this is the first time this one's ever gone down. This is a show put on by a guy named Grant Slayton. His name's Waldorf Stories on Instagram, and really, really great 90s collector. And he's been marketing this for a while. He put out some really great videos of the location. It's at this resort center called the Kalahari Resort Center in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. And then I got, a lot of people I know are showing up. My buddy Nady, who picked me up from the airport, he's a big dealer who's local out here and everything. So, of course, he was coming. So he already had some spots available for me. So I just figured it'd be cool to come check it out, see Wisconsin. Never been to Wisconsin before, and, see the new market and everything, and get out of LA for a second. Same thing with Miami 2 weeks ago, just checking out new locations.
So is there a game plan you have, or is it like, look, there's a lot of big shows, I can always do something, or do you attack each show with, these are the cards I want to move, these are the cards I want to pick up? Because Dustin and I are going to the Dallas show next week. This will be our first major show. For me, Dustin, I think that's your first show, period, since all this, right?
No, I went to some shows here locally in North Carolina, a couple, but but smaller ones. Well, actually, not too bad. Like a couple hundred tables, so not like tiny, but not massive. You know, somewhere.
Did you not put out content on it?
No, I did. Yeah, I did.
You did. Okay, got lost in the sea of content you put out daily. Okay, so I couldn't find it. Awesome.
1 second, guys. I just have to upload. All right.
And the next video's out.
But yeah, this will be my first big one. I mean, yeah, I would say maybe ever. I mean,
yeah, same here. I mean, like I hear Dallas is growing every time, so we're kind of prepping ourselves for the Dallas show, and I think we're going to be on the same flight, unless you change flights. But out of Burbank to Dallas Thursday morning, so that'll be cool. But in terms of this show and maybe others, are you like, look, here I am, I could always just figure something out, I can sell whatever, I can pick up whatever I like, or is it very strategic? Here are the players, here are the cards I really believe in, I just want to target these?
Yeah, I'm more laid back. I'm more low expectations when I go to a show, because at the end of the day, like, I don't want to put that pressure on, like, the allure of trying to make something happen that maybe I'm going to force. But with that being said, some people come with an entire box of cards. They're like, I want the entire box of cards gone, you know, or they come with a list of 3 or 4 cards that they absolutely, if they see, they're going to try and figure out how to make a deal for them. Me, I'm kind of more just, I'm looking for opportunity. You know, I'm just looking for, you know.
What's opportunity? Yeah, like define opportunity.
Great deals, really great deals.
Define. Okay, so define
Coleman,
great.
Yeah, Coleman, do you do more deals with like other dealers that are there, or do you do more dealers with kind of like someone that shows up, like you said, that maybe is local to that show and they have a box of cards? And do you do more deals with those people, or
it varies? But like, I would say generically speaking, at a show for the first like day or two of the show, I'll be behind my booth just doing deals with whoever walks up to my table. It could be dealers, could be people that just walk up. And then maybe to close the show, I'll be walking around a little bit more to dealers' tables, trying to make deals happen with dealers and stuff. So it just depends, but I'd say it's a mix of both.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, what is opportunity? Like, define a great deal too. I mean, is that a profit margin? Is that because a great opportunity is different for everyone.
A great deal for me is it's $100 card, but the guy has it marked for 50. So you grab it for 40 and then you go flip it for 80. You know,
okay, but that type of profit margin? Like, as an example, because I mean, someone could say like buying it for 70 if it's worth 100 is a great deal. So what for you at this stage of flipping? Knowing so much about cards and going through hundreds of transactions, thousands of transactions, what is the profit margin, or what is like that opportunity? Like, how would you define, I guess, the profit margin for you?
I guess so. In relation to a great deal, I would say it's hard to say, but after you do so many, you kind of just know the difference between, a margin that's, 70 cents on the dollar for a card is a really good deal. It's a really, really good deal, depending on what the card is. If it's a Michael Jordan rookie, or if it's a Kobe Bryant rookie, or a LeBron rookie, or something like that, and it's a highly liquid card, absolutely that's a good deal. But on a Cam Reddish Prism PSA 10, I don't know if 70 cents on the dollar is a good deal, because a lot of people might be willing to let that card go for 70 cents on the dollar. So it's all case-by-case basis, but you kind of you do it enough and you kind of figure out like, oh, okay, there's a couple of deals that happen at a show that are really, 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 really good, great deals. And then there's a lot of really good deals that happen at a show. And it's kind of just like going through that and figuring out like, okay, this walked up to me, or I found this, and I just get that feeling in my stomach like this is probably the best deal I'm going to find at this show. And then maybe go for it because there's a profit margin to be made, or it's a great car that I want to, add to my inventory, or sometimes even personally collect or whatever. But yeah, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, it's risk reward, right? I mean, like the Jordan card or whatever, it's if I know I can move a card, I don't need the biggest profit margin because I have the certainty that I can let it go, which is why like the Prisms, the PSA 10s, those are cards where I go, I know I'll have a buyer, so I don't need it at 50% off, because if I get it 30% off or 20% off, at least I'm almost guaranteed to move it for that, versus here's the player or the grading company or whatever that, or the set or parallel that is on a steep discount, but I might have to convince someone it's a great deal because people aren't as familiar with it or don't respect it as much. I feel you on that.
there's some cards that if you get it for 80 cents on the dollar, when you try to sell it to somebody, they're going to expect 80 cents on the dollar too, because of the nature of the card, because of the set, the player, whatever. I mean, another thing that you can do, brokering cards for people and stuff. Like if there's people that are looking for certain cards and they're like, hey, like I'm looking for LeBron James Topps PSA 10 rookie card. I'm willing to pay this much. Well, if you go around the show and you find all of them and you find a dealer that's willing to sell it to you for under that, then bam, you're making the dealer happy, you're making your buddy happy, and you get a little money too, There's all
that reminds me so much of real estate, because if you're into flipping houses, there are also wholesalers, and wholesalers don't have money to buy the houses and flip themselves, or they don't care to. So what they do is they find the deal and they'll lock up the deal, and they'll say something like, look, I know you want to sell your house for $200,000. So what if I can get you the $200,000? Can I give me 30 days to get you the $200,000 for your house? And you sign a contract and you pay them $1,000 or $2,000 just for the right to sell their house for 30 days. And they go out and sell it for $230,000. They get the seller, the one that owns the house, $200,000. They keep the difference, and the buyer is happy buying it at $230,000. But it's a lot like real estate in that regard.
And what's your risk? Your risk is nothing.
Yeah.
It's what, a couple $1,000? That's your risk, which is nothing compared to what you're making, right? So like there's all kinds of ways to completely lower exposure and risk and make the gains much better, obviously.
So for this show specifically, and I mean, I saw some comments here about the current dip in basketball and whatnot. What are you seeing as a generalization? Are there players, are there cards that you overall have your eye on, or you think are good buys right now? Maybe different grading companies. I'm seeing a lot of disparity between BGS and PSA. That it's just getting further and further out of control. And so what's your take right there? And then Dustin, feel free to not just eat and drink your tea or whatever, and like chip in from time to time.
So I just want to say,
Yeah, go ahead. You just interrupt Coleman. How about that? That's you chipping in. Is you just interrupt?
Hey, interrupt me all you want. The PSA to BGS comparison, in my opinion, like it's so case by case. I know nobody wants to hear that, but it's like a Michael Jordan 90s insert and a BGS 9 holder. I don't care that it's in a BGS case. That's hard to find. It's a really hard card to find. So I'm going to grab that card no matter what. I'm not worried about the grading company, because the BGS is going to sell at the same price as a PSA because you can't find that card. But if it's, a very, very common card like a Luka Prism, the PSA is going to be worth more than the BGS. To me, it's like I don't necessarily think that means BGS is a play there. But as far as like what I'm looking for and stuff, it's hard to say. I feel like, you can't go wrong with the GOATs and stuff. It's like, look, I've been buying the dip every time here and stuff keeps dipping. So it's like, I could tell you what I'm going for, but like if I've told you what I was going for like over the last 2 months, literally you'd be losing money with me the whole time. So it's tough, man. But for me, it's really hard. People always ask me, what are you looking for at the show? I never know until I see it. I never know until I see it, because it's a card that sticks out to me. The guy's willing to make a deal, like whether it's trade or cash or whatever, at the right price. Maybe I make a good trade to get it or something like that. But what I'm looking for is I'm just looking for value. The same thing that you're saying with the real estate, the same thing is like a wholesale flipper or whatever walks into a house, and I might walk into the same house and say, ooh, this carpet is nasty, or like these walls are gross. And that wholesaler just sees a ton of value, right? Because he knows that it's a distressed property. He gets to fix it up and stuff like that and then make a bunch of money. Whereas I don't see that. Me with cards, I have a skill, and my skill is I can go around and see value that other people can't see in some cases. Sometimes I lose, obviously, but so it's hard to say, but basically I'm just going around looking for where I see value.
Yeah, I was going to speak on the different grading companies. That maybe kind of a hot take to some degree, but I'm not sure in the long run there's going to be a big difference in the long run between PSA, BGS, SGC, as far as I think those price gaps are going to get tighter over time. I could be totally wrong on that, but I bought, like, for example, I got a deep discount on a Tom Brady Bowman paper rookie this week in a CSG holder because it's CSG and people don't want CSG, but it's like a third of the price of the PSA in the same grade. It's like, so I'm looking at kind of like what you said, Coleman. I mean, I'm looking at kind of rare cards or just important cards, because that Bowman paper is not a super rare card, but it's an important one. So it's like, I'm looking at SGC 9s and 10s too. I mean, SGC 10s if you look at an SGC 10 and you look at a PSA 10, it's not as if you're getting like a better quality grade necessarily. Like it's probably about the same like quality card. And maybe even that SGC 10 is even a better looking card than the PSA. You never know. I mean, so if I can get an SGC 10 at half the price or 60% or whatever, 65, then I'm going to consider that. Not on every card, but certain cards.
I don't mean to interrupt, Dustin, but basically you're talking right in line with what I'm saying about the guy that walks into the house and sees the value there, because you're seeing value in a card that other people don't see value in, even though it's there. Like, because that CSG card, I mean, look, like if you wanted to take that CSG card and crack it and then send it to one of these grading companies that everybody goes goo goo gaga for, and then it gets the same grade in PSA, even as a 9 in some cases, I'm sure that PSA 9 is worth maybe twice what it was worth in the CSG. And then bam, you just made double your money just because you saw value in something that other people weren't willing to look at.
You hear that, Brad? Brad, you hear that? Coleman says I'm making goodbye.
That CSG label looks like a prescription bottle. It looks horrible. I'm like,
all right, well, then you keep doing what you're doing, Brad.
But
Brad,
that's the same thing I say. Same thing I say when I go into a house that has doo-doo on the floor.
Yeah. Well, here's one thing I will show, and I shared this on my Instagram, and I will reveal to y'all what card it is. Some of you guessed it already, but this is what I found the other day, and this is what got me really intrigued with the disparity between BGS and that's the Zion one, BGS and PSA. So this was a Derek Jeter Upper Deck SP PSA 9 versus BGS 9. And the last sale, I don't have the numbers pulled up. This is just an image. The last sale, let's see, was $19,000 for the PSA 9. And I believe the PSA 9 would be better than the BGS 9 in terms of quality. But if you look at where it was selling prior to January, it was roughly a 5x, 4.5 to 5x multiplier. And then everything just boomed during January, and the prices are still about 9 times higher. And in this last sale, it was 9.4 times higher for the PSA 9 than the BGS 9. So I thought that was pretty crazy right there. But I think the one thing that I want to take away with the whole PSA versus SGC versus whatever is, if it is a great card, like you said, it won't really matter so much, because you'll be able to move a LeBron James rookie card no matter what the grading company is. But if it is a newer player, it's their Prism base rookie card, I want that in PSA more than likely, because I want to be able to get rid of the card when I want. But a great card is a great card, and you could always crack it. It's a shame that some grading companies are kind of like scarlet letters, where it's like, oh, this amazing card is attached to this grading company that's not respected that well, while others are decent cards, but they're in a PSA slab, and because of that, the perceived value is so high. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, if the card is great, you'll be fine. If the card is not that great, then I want that PSA 9 or 10 or maybe BGS 9.5, because I want to be able to move it when I want.
It's a great point. And so looking at that graph, my first question would be, what's a PSA 8 worth? Because if a PSA 8 is worth more than a BGS 9, I'm looking for the nicest BGS 9s I can find that have like good edges, good corners, stuff like that. And I'm cracking them and sending them to PSA. Because if one hits a 9, I just went, 10x? And if one hits an 8 and that's my downside, maybe it's worth more than a BGS 9 still,
So I ended up buying one of them for about $2,000, and there were others with better subgrades. I think some of them had all 9s and 110, and it would go for more. I think the last sale was like $3,000 or $3,500, where I think they had the same mentality of crack it, get a PSA 9, that's it, and that card could shoot up to $18,000. So, I mean, there's a really good arbitrage there. But the other question I thought of as well, maybe the PSA 9 is just way overpriced, and that will drop down to that standard 5x multiplier, which still has room for the right BGS 9 to get converted over. But still, maybe that's more likely to happen.
Do you know the pops? I'm sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say, what was the PSA 8 comp? You know, like if you got an 8.
Let me pull it up. So y'all just keep talking. I just gotta.
What's the population on the PSA 9 compared to BGS 9? You know, that's a good question.
Yeah, hold on.
Because if PSA 9 population is like 200 and BGS 9 is 2,000, then the comp actually makes sense.
Well, we don't know what the BGS comp would be, correct?
Well, if the BGS 9 is 2,000 and PSA 9 is almost 20,000, but the pops reflect that 10x difference.
But we don't know the pop of the BGS.
BGS 9?
I don't think so. I mean, would we know the pop of BGS cards? I thought that was BGS.
Yeah, you can see them. You have to have an account. Yeah, you can see the BGS pops.
Okay. Yeah, I thought BGS didn't release their pops. I thought it was only PSA that released it.
No, so on the BGS app, if you go on the BGS app, you can go to menu, grading, serial number lookup. You can look up the serial number on the card, which will bring you to the pop, or you can just go population report, put in a couple of things, and then it'll bring you right there. I'm actually looking it up right now.
Okay, yeah, please do. All right, let me look it up here, and I think this is it. I'll share the screen in a second.
Brad, you might need to return that card.
but here's the thing. I also looked at the price at which I was paying, and because on its own, the card had spiked to $6,000 at one point, and the last couple sales were very flat at around 2,000. I'm like, look, I'm good with that just based on that alone without comparing it to other grading companies. Let me take a look here. Hold on a second. So 93 Upper Deck SP foil, Derek Jeter. Okay. So let me share my screen. Let's see what we can find. Is that it? No. There we go. Okay, so this, let me change the date so more dates are included. Okay, so that's pretty damn crazy right there. Let me make it bigger for you. So there's 9,000 PSA 8s reported here, 609 PSA 9s, and then the BGS 9 is not here. So I need you to tell me.
I just checked it out. The BGS 9 is 2,924.
2,924. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing here from this chart? Because for me, I see everything being pretty stable, going up, and then just going through the roof when everything else was going through the roof back in January.
PSA 9 seems overvalued. PSA 9 seems overvalued. I'd say I think you're right. The BGS 9 is a better play, especially because again, all BGS 9s, as you're saying, aren't the same, right? Because of subgrades. So that's the thing is some people might think a BGS 9 is the same, but it's not. So if you can arbitrage better subgrades on a BGS 9, that's always a play too.
And I think that was my purchase right there, was $2,005. And I'd actually, in terms of finding deals, this was one of the cards that said it dropped the most over the last 60 days on using market movers. So I like to reverse engineer where I'm looking at what has dropped the most, because I want to see that the card was really expensive before, because I never want to pay the record high price. I want to say, like, all right, if this card had hit, let's say this price right here, what's this? $7,200. If this card hits $7,200 in March, I believe that there is a chance it hits $7,200 again. But if it doesn't, I still feel very confident that it'll hit $3,500 at some point, and that's good enough for me to feel really good about it. Compared to up here, where I'm like, man, that's $24,000. $24,000. That's a lot of money. For a card that hasn't gone up to $40,000 or $50,000.
Absolutely. No, it's great analysis, man. I got to tip my cap to you, because even checking the populations, you could see that although the PSA pop was much lower, it didn't reflect those value. It didn't reflect the PSA 9 value being justified compared to the BGS 9.
Well, also, I mean, the thing I saw is, look, the pop shouldn't have changed between now and 6 months ago for a Derek Jeter 1993 card. It shouldn't have varied very much. So if it was about 4 to 5x before and now it's 9x, that doesn't make sense. And maybe it's just the PSA just goes down in value and that's it. But I knew that the PSA 9 was not the good play based on the multiplier almost doubling in a couple months' time.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough because the PSA brand is just such the investor brand and everything. So it's tough. There's a lot of variables and everything, but I think if you're playing it as safe as possible, you're making the right play, 100%, because it's the margin, right? 2,000 compared to 19,000. 19,000 has how much downside, how much upside compared to your 2,000, how much downside to upside if that PSA 9 is going to stay at 19,000. So.
I mean, it's the same thing where a $5 card I get excited about because $5 to 12 percentage-wise is huge, and I'm only $5 in. But turning a $20,000 card into $22,000 with the risk of it going down to 17, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So Dustin, real quick, we were talking about how we find deals. I think Dustin just races cockroaches in his living room and has different pieces of paper with players' names on it. Whichever one the winning roach lands on, he buys. But Dustin, how do you train the roaches to race so aggressively?
You would be amazed. Well, actually, it's mice, not roaches. But you would be shocked how smart those little suckers are. Man, you just let them run. Yeah, no. No, I do kind of the same sorts of things like we talked about with the Mahomes and the, comparing like Mahomes prices to a QB I like or whatever, or LeBron to, whoever I'm looking at for a particular set or card. But just like with you, with the data tools with Market Movers or Card Ladder, that's a very quick way just to get a lot of information very quickly. And I can just kind of scan down at what dropped and then say like, oh, okay, I actually, I agree with this. I like this or that. And I can kind of pick and choose based on that as well.
Coleman, do you start with the card, the player, or something else? Like what's like time of year? Because even for me, I think time of year and what the masses are doing before even the player or the card, because I want a lot of people to be invested in playoff basketball so I can go in football right now before I know all that money heads over to football. So I start with more of the macro type of mindset, and then I go into, all right, well, now the sport, and now the player, and now the card, and now the value that way.
Yeah, no, I know you're really hyper aggressive in that way of like really finding the best times timing wise to buy into stuff that I've noticed, which I think is great. Me, I'm like this. I mean, I'm more just like time in the market, not like trying to time the market. So I'm really just at all times buying this stuff. So I mean, look, I'm buying it as it's going down. I'm buying it as it's coming up. So for me, I'll look at like a case full of cards and I'll say, okay, there's an MPJ card. Maybe he has a 50-point playoff game, but there's some downside if they get knocked out. So maybe I don't want to go there, but maybe I do. I'll see a Steph Curry and I'll say, okay, Steph Curry, love him because he's so highly collectible and liquid. He's going to have a play-in game. People are going to love that. If he blows up, great. If not, it's a win-win because Warriors will come back next year with Klay Thompson. So maybe I'll go that route. I kind of think, and then as far as product, I keep it pretty specific and pretty narrow with product. I don't really like to mess around. I do mess around because people are trying to like sell me stuff and trade me stuff from different products that I'm not really a big fan of. So I'll take that stuff. But as far as like product, I stay pretty specific. Timing and player is probably the two biggest things that I go after. But again, like timing, I'm always buying and always selling. So for me, it probably is more importantly player over anything else.
One thing I noticed, and I want you to tell me if that's true or not, where you don't need a huge profit margin on a card. You could sell for 10% or 20% margin, but it's also helps when you're selling at shows. And I think that's where I've noticed I had so much on eBay, and eBay was going to be my primary source of selling, not just buying, where eBay is going to take their 12% or so, plus taxes and plus the risk of a buyer saying that they never got the product, it was cracked, it was damaged, whatever else, where I start to think of myself as I want to sell locally because I don't have to sell for a 50% or 80% margin. If I sell for a 20% margin living in Southern California, I can do that a lot without having to work in eBay's fee as well as the risk. And I mean, eBay needs to charge their fee. That's how a business works. But I feel like it's a lot easier to do a lot of this turnover when you're selling at shows versus if you're on eBay. I need like a 50% margin just to feel good that the occasional lost product or the occasional return will be absorbed and I'll be okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why shows are great. The big thing is just, deal, making as many deals as possible, because at the end of the day, when you put your money into something, that money is now sitting there as now dead inventory until you sell it. So that's why the best investors already have their buyer in place, right? They already are buying something that they're moving right over. There's no exposure, and that's great. So the shows are great because one, you're not dealing with those fees. People will expect a little bit of a better deal, but that's fine because you can always bake that in a little bit. But more importantly for me, I'm selling on eBay every single day, and then shows kind of just like accelerate the process for a weekend. And then I go back to my slow process of selling on eBay. Weekend comes along, accelerates, and it just really helps out to, make the machine move faster.
Dustin, you have any input? I got to go pee.
I feel like I need to be setting up at shows now. I'm getting pumped hearing all this. Maybe I should be, traveling around and doing more shows. I'm in North Carolina. So there's a lot of like Raleigh, Charlotte, Virginia. I mean, there's a fair amount of shows around. They're starting to kick back up now that people are getting vaccinated and all that. So
yeah, are you close to
Dallas?
Atlanta? I'll be in Dallas. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I heard there was an Atlanta show towards the end of the year.
There's one,
right?
It's a July, I want to say it's July 16th, 17th, something like that. It's called Culture Collision. It's hosted by Prism God on Instagram. That's going to be a pretty big show in Atlanta, but it'll coincide with the next Dallas show in July. So we have a Dallas show here in May next week. And then 2 months from now, that Dallas show will coincide with an Atlanta show that's out there. And then, I mean, you're not close by any means, but Miami just had a show, and that show will be going on. That's a really cool time and stuff. And I don't know if you have a girlfriend or a wife or anything like that, or a family, you could go down to Miami Beach for kill two birds with one stone or something like that.
I'm actually in prison. This is a prison cell.
Wow, man. Prison.
The joke is that Dustin showed me his new house. He showed me pictures of it, and there's not a single boring wall in that. So I'm pretty sure Dustin puts up a fake boring wall just to look for.
Wow, man. That's not talking. You've made it.
Yeah. What are you talking about, Brad? I'm just living in one bedroom. This is a studio.
I see your butler. Your butler just went behind you.
Yeah. Can I get another drink, or am I going to get another drink? Or am I going to ask you again, Fred?
There was a question by Dexflow. This was really directed towards Sasha. But I mean, look, everything's dropping. I guess let me ask you for yourself, and not to speak for Sasha, but do you ever have buyer's remorse on some of these big cards?
Come here, Sasha. Sasha, come here real quick. Hey, Sasha. Dexflow says, question for Coleman. That first edition Shadowless Charizard PSNI recently sold for under $20K. Does Sasha have any buyer's remorse on his big deal? You want to answer that question?
No, I'm big chillin'. Big chillin'. Well, I moved the 9. He's talking about the 10, right?
The 10. You're talking about your 10.
Yeah. Yeah, after that one did 250, people were like DMing me and stuff, and I'm like, bro, I'm chilling because I think about that long term, kind of like how Luca thinks about his Luca Gold. And then the next day, one on PWCC to 350, and then one privately just sold for 385. So even if somebody today said, oh, a Charizard 10 sold for 500K, I'd feel the same way as like the one that did 250, because I just think about it in a different way. Like you can't, if you have a card like that, you can't, like you're gonna kill yourself if you're looking at all these different comps every single day. So yeah.
There you go, Dexflow, right from the horse's mouth.
Appreciate it. Dude, I think here's the interesting thing with collectors, investors, flippers that have been in for several years is it's a lot easier to think of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road versus long-term being 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So I just wonder if like that's a way you think of it too, is do you think of buying cards, and even if you want to move it quickly, you have a plan or an insurance policy 5 years from now?
Well, sorry, someone just fell down.
Sounded like a target.
Did Sasha
getting retail?
Yeah, did Sasha? He just dropped his Charizard. He's like, shit.
Now it's buyer's remorse.
Now it's buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Return to eBay. They have a great policy.
run me through that question again. You mean like just thinking about in terms of like the long term, like holding something that might be shifting and volatile?
Yeah, as in, look, if you've been in the hobby for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, guys that have been collecting since they were kids, they've seen waves, they see all this. I feel like if you're in real estate, if you're in anything stocks, you have a lot bigger of a perspective or a bigger range, because you could look at it as, what's this market going to be and what's this player going to do in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But when you just get in, it's very easy to see that 1 year seems like an eternity, especially because I got in a year ago, just over a year ago. And what I've learned and experienced in 14 months is insane. But if you've been in the hobby, even though this was a crazy period, if you've been in the hobby for 4 years, I think it's a lot easier to think longer term for a specific card. So I was wondering if that is something you've noticed between newer investors and collectors versus guys like yourself and Sasha.
I think it just comes down to risk tolerance. And at the end of the day, like if you're a millionaire and you have a LeBron Topps Chrome that goes from 40K to 20K, you don't feel it. So you can just take it, throw it in a shoebox and forget about it. And it's like, whatever, I know how it works. I think a lot of people, you know, they run pretty lean and they make purchases on investments that maybe they were experiencing a little bit of fear of missing out. So they bought it and they put more money in than they probably would have felt comfortable doing otherwise. I know for me, speaking from personal experience right now, I know nothing about Bitcoin. So I started doing $250 a month for Bitcoin, and my 250 is now 220, you know, after the first month. And I look at that and I go, well, son of a bitch, I'm glad I didn't freaking put in 2,000. That's what I felt like doing, because everyone was telling me it's the best investment you can possibly make, you know? So, but I know that 250 is going to be fine. It's just going to go up over time. But that's why I put in 250, is because I don't understand that market. So I'm not going to expose myself too much. My risk tolerance isn't there. So I would, you know, for me, it's all about risk tolerance and how much you understand the market.
Yeah. And I think a couple other things is that, look, we see the rise of NFTs, and that's the new hot thing. There's cryptocurrency, and all have legitimate legs to stand on. But I don't get excited about those things. I get excited about learning more about cards and having more of an advantage. But I've also noticed that my risk tolerance is a lot lower. And I think the reason is because I'm using a lot of money that I've saved from working these crappy bartending jobs and modeling jobs and different things over the past that I've scrimped and saved to get, and I don't want to lose it at all. I'm not playing with much house money. So it's like, I feel like I'd have a lot higher of a risk tolerance if I had bought in like 100 grand worth or 50 grand worth in 2018, 2019, and that had ballooned to 400,000, 500,000. And so I'm playing with a lot of house money, knowing that only 50,000 or 30,000 is in, while right now I'm putting in all of it from capital that was outside the hobby. Does that make sense?
Right. But you bought a $2,000 card where you weren't doing that a year ago.
Correct. But that $2,000, I know what it took me to make the $2,000 outside of the hobby. Yeah. So I think that was it.
Gentlemen, I'm probably going to let you go here just because they're like playing with music and stuff and all this, everything. I don't want to interrupt your show. But Brad, thank you so much for having me on, dude. Dustin, it was really, really awesome to meet you, man. And I'm a big fan and stuff. So, and I'll definitely check out your vlogs at shows and stuff since you've done some.
It's gonna be like the Blair Witch Project in Dallas.
Can't wait.
And don't worry about interrupting the show. Dustin interrupts the show. You actually brought valuable content, so that was great.
Oh, okay, great, fantastic, good to know. All right,
appreciate it, man. I'll see you next week, dude.
All right, gentlemen, have a good one.
Thanks for coming on. You too.
All right. Yep.
Okay. Well, the one thing we didn't talk about, which we got to discuss, is the retail at Target. So very cool for Coleman and Sasha to make an appearance. Dude, I saw the news about Target suspends retail sales. What?
Sorry, I just saw Charles's comment. Charles is my boy. All right. Go ahead. It's the first comment on the list, Brad.
Dude, there's a lot of comments here, which is awesome, but I'm way behind. I'm on like 640, it says here. And it's already, let's see, go down the bottom, 658. Anyway, so look, Target suspends retail product. And for me, it doesn't really affect me because I never chased it. And I almost think of it as a good thing because I'm like, well, great. If you just go online, then I actually have a chance to get some retail at wholesale prices, or what should be wholesale prices, without actually having to go to Target. So personally, I'm like, well, that's probably a good thing. The other idea was, well, if all these flippers and scalpers and whatever you want to call them aren't going to Target chasing retail, and they want to make money somehow, because you can't blame someone for wanting to flip something and make money, right? I'm doing it online, we're doing it. Where are they going to go? And I'm wondering, well, does that mean more people are going to be interested in singles and learning how to flip singles? So those were the only thoughts. Take it from here.
Yeah, I kind of wonder in the future if we're going to look back and be like, remember when people actually bought cards at the store? Like if it just moves online forever, I mean, I feel like retail in general is moving online, it always, and it has been, but that'll be kind of interesting to see if they go back to it, I mean, I guess it'll just depend on demand. Like if demand stays this heavy for, a long period of time, then I guess, yeah, they will. But if it subsides, 2 years ago, you could go to Walmart and there was packs of cards all over the place. They couldn't sell it. So it's obviously a temporary thing just to see like what happens to the card market. I think it's temporary in what's going to happen with the card market, not how are people going to behave. I think it's going to be more of like, is the demand still there? And if the demand is still crazy, like it is, then we'll just sell it online or whatever. But they're going to have problems with bots and stuff online. I mean, that's going to be the tricky part, is they're going to have their own issues online.
I mean, yeah, I guess bots would be the thing online. The one thing I thought of is this. I like Target. Target is clean. It is nice. When they have something like this go on at Target, they should shut it down because they actually have a good image. Walmart, on the other hand, if this happened at Walmart, it would just go up on peopleofwalmart.com. And if you guys haven't heard of peopleofwalmart.com, it's a hilarious website where people post pictures of other people and incidences they see at Walmart. Sorry, but that kind of goes in line with what I would expect on Black Friday at Walmart. Target, I 100% agree with. You got to shut it down for now. See if you could sell it online. And, even if you charge shipping and whatnot, it's such a good profit margin for the person buying it that it's not worth risking your image as a company, as a nice shopping experience, to tolerate that. So there was a comment here, and I've thought about this a lot, is from Alex, who put, it sucks for kids. There's going to be a generation gap with zero interest in cards. I would say, and we've discussed this before, but I think the difference is that now, I think the difference now is when we were kids, we got into cards because that was the thing to do when you are a kid. And then when you turn 13, 14, 15, you started thinking about dating and cars and other cool things, and you get out of cards. Now, this is the cool thing for teenagers onwards. So I would say the difference is that if you're 8 years old, you're probably just looking up to the 13, 14-year-olds that can afford to enter a break or buy the occasional single. And you may actually get in later, but stay in throughout, versus this be the cool thing for little kids. And then more than likely you get out because it's not cool when you're a teenager. So here's the irony.
Here's kind of the irony of it is, grown men are wrapped around the building to buy it because in part, now I'm not going to say that this is everybody, but it's like you said, they're going to flip the boxes. They're going to buy, they want to buy them to sell them. Now there are a certain percentage that are there to open them and collect the cards, but a lot of the drive is not collectors going to get it to open the wax. It's to resell it. So what could they do to remedy that? They could just print a lot more of it. They could just have more of it available. Like when we were kids, you go to the grocery store, you go to the gas station, there's cards everywhere, and so then there's accessibility. But the irony there is that then it'll just sit on the shelves because people want it to have value. So it's like, it's a catch-22, I mean.
Do you think they'll bring it back? Do you think they'll bring it back in stores? Do you think they'll do online only, or what?
I think that Panini, it's going to be really, really interesting to see if Panini decides like, all right, are we just are we going to just print more? Are we going to like really put out our output? and maybe they choose a particular set. Like I know I've talked about it before, like why not print like NBA hoops? Like it's the end, like print it to the end of time, like keep them running, make sure there's NBA hoops basketball. I'm just throwing that as an example. For football, maybe you have a set, you have your 89 Pro set, version of whatever today is going to be.
Yeah.
And you just have that in the stores. It's always there. It's always there. It's got all the new rookies in it. It's got all, so then
the question is, would kids even want that? I mean,
that's the whole thing is if it's just to collect the cards, then yeah, they should want it. If it's not about flipping or any of that, then yeah.
But even as a kid, I remember digging through a lot of the boxes and being like, this box sucks, Upper Deck, ugh. And then finally coming across a set that I liked at the Kmart, not even Target or Walmart, but at the Kmart, that was the cool box. So even then, if it was only Score, I remember like 98 Collector's Choice or one of those where I'm like, ugh, like I'm not even going to buy this box, and I'm 9 years old, and the box is $15, $20, and my mom would pay for it, and I still don't care about collecting those cards. I think it's really, I don't know, it's very complex, but in terms of the kids thing,
if I was running that company, I would just take a legacy set. So I know people don't, I know people are saying like, I wish it wouldn't be Select, because people like how Select looks, and they don't like how it's now retailed and not just hobby. But take a legacy set like NBA hoops that everybody knows and likes. Because what you're saying basically is, I don't want like the crap set. I don't want like the Collector's Choice. I want something that, a brand that I like. So take a brand that's likable, that's already, not premium. Like NBA hoops is not a premium set, and just print that one. Just print that one like crazy, and do the same thing for football, and do the same thing for baseball, but then keep everything else the same. I don't get why that would be a bad thing. But then if you're an investor flipper, then like we're not buying hoops. Like we're not buying 2021 hoops.
Well, I think the other thing too is, look, let's say they do that, and now the stores sell a bit of it, but it's a normal product on the shelf. It's not like there's a line out to get hoops or Collector's Choice or whatever equivalent. But what do those people do? I think this is the interesting thing, is like Target has this dilemma of, we can't have brawls about this one product that we're selling, and maybe that's not even that big of a profit margin for them, because the real profit margins for the people that are buying it retail and then reselling it. But what do these people do? Are they in the hobby now going over to Star Stock and Comp C? Are they now are they just getting out of the hobby altogether because that was their only angle? So that's is interesting for me, because I think to myself, well, that's a whole demographic of people, if Target doesn't bring this back, that might be looking at singles and other forms. Maybe they're buying off of what's it, like not Dave and Buster's, what's the other one? Like one of these Steel City or whatever, and they're going to hold wax for 6 months or a year, or they're just like, you know what, this was our thing and we're out.
Yeah, I saw a comment here.
Which one?
Where is it? Toa said they need to sell wax online like how NBA Top Shot sells its packs. I agree with this. I talked about this. It might have been on today's video, but NBA Top Shot, for all of its issues that they've had to work through their website, they've got the packs. They've got their packs down now, pretty good. And essentially, how they do their packs is, you have 100,000 packs that they're going to release. You have a queue where it's like, all right, at 2 p.m. here, everyone get in the queue, and then at random, if you're one of the 100,000 that gets a pack, then lucky you get a pack. Well, and then what happens is 200,000 people are in the queue. Half of them get a pack, half of them don't. And that's it. Now they could do it to where they ship it out to you then. Like you win the pack, they ship it out to you, whatever.
I think, yeah, honestly, online, they say, hey, you want this product, you enter your email, and we're going to send out X amount, and you are available to pick this up at this date, or you will be sent this link and you enter your credit card and your address and it gets shipped to you, something like that. But I think the queue has to be online. I don't think you could do any type of queue in person, because think of like Black Friday, how much of a nightmare that is. And it sounds like that's that level of aggression, because, when you camp out in front of a Target for hours and hours, you're doing it not to have a chance. You're doing it because you better get as much product as you can, or it's a horrible use of your time. So there's got to be a way to do the queue online, and then whoever gets it, maybe they pick up in store, maybe they get it shipped to them. But I don't blame Target at all. I mean, it's just like horrible PR for a brawl to come out over sports cards. What are you looking at?
I was just looking at Billy's comment. He said I need to stop chewing my cud. Sorry, man. I didn't have dinner.
What are you doing, man? You got like
trail mix.
Why is it in a sample cup?
I don't know. My wife's Italian. She gave me a cappuccino and a sample cup.
Where's the rest of the cup? Where's the rest of your cappuccino cup? Hold it up.
That's it.
Where's the rest of it? How come it's so short? Oh, okay.
It's because it's Europe.
This is America. This is America.
Oh, I should have a big gulp. I should have a big gulp of cappuccino. Yeah, my wife's Italian. So we don't have any big gulps.
Oh, I will say that's the frustrating thing when I go to other countries like Mexico and Europe is I'm 6'3" and I love quantity. So I get annoyed very easily by small anything. Like I have to go to Starbucks because all these bougie coffee shops here are like $6 for a 4 ounce or a 6 ounce. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. And then I have to get a refill. And now I'm spending $15 on coffee. I go to Starbucks, I get the venti, dark roast, black, and then I get one refill for 50 cents. And I have like 24 ounces of coffee and I'm good. But I can't do that small quantity stuff. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I listened to you talk for a while. I mean, I was eating most of the time. So no, I think no, there was one more topic I thought. Let me go back to your notes here. You're always
I do want to share this, and you gotta mention who.
Where's the picture of where's the picture?
Yeah, this is what I'm gonna show right now. Hold on one second. And who did this?
Trigger Finger.
You're
watching? This is awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is super cool. So you see the hangover on the left. I like how you turned into my baby holding a Tom Brady card.
I showed my wife, and she's like, "Why are you the baby though in this picture?" I'm like,
"It's very appropriate. It's appropriate."
I'm the only one holding up a good card.
Hey, the Boris appears to have some sort of green watch. I don't know if that's a Rolex or
he's got it, but his arm is twisted backwards. It's some sort of like.
But it doesn't matter when you have a fistful of cash.
Boris has got an exorcist arm, like he's like a demon or something.
Flippin' Steve is checking me out, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah, he's like, that hair on the side looks a little short. I don't know about that.
Kind of reminds me of Dustin's old haircut.
Brad's copying my haircut.
Oh,
yeah, that was awesome. I got that in my in-mail this morning. I got it in my my Twitter mailbox. Trigger Finger, hook me up. Thanks, man.
Yeah, awesome. and honestly, from now on, if any of you guys out there want to make photoshopped pictures like that of us, we would be totally flattered, as long as we're not like stuck on like in some person's anus or on a ball sack or something like that.
Yeah, let's exactly. Let's not get too creative out there, guys.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. In terms of finding deals, though, is there like a summary or anything else that you wanted to touch on? Because I didn't feel like I talked much about finding deals on, let's say, ComC and StarStock and whatnot. And I don't know if you touch those platforms or not, if you have any thoughts there.
I was just going to say, in today's kind of card world, be really patient. I've heard other people say it too, be picky. Watch the auctions, because they're, now, granted, you've got buy it nows that are good deals too, but there's some deals out there right now, and I think that there's going to be some good deals for the rest of this. I think all summer there's going to be some deals. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
I feel the same way. It just makes sense. Right now is going to be buying season. It's been a lot of buying for me. I have another Mail Week video coming up, but I've been buying a lot. But also because I believe there's going to be a period just like in January, February, where I don't want to buy a thing because everything's going through the roof. I just want to sell. But I will say, looking at it in the whole yearly approach, I think it's a lot easier for me. For me,
I've got one more thing too, actually, to kind of piggyback off of the Target stuff. And I wanted to say it. I might have said it in one of my videos, but for those that are just getting back in that might be watching, there's so many layers to the hobby outside of just new product. Because right now, new product is very expensive comparatively where it's been. There's a huge singles market out there where there's all sorts of, fun arbitrage if you're in it for the buy sell, but also if you're collecting, there's all sorts of options there, whether it's vintage or modern. So just because Target is not selling sports cards or whatever, that's a small percentage of what's going on. So, I mean, I guess stay with it. Stay with it.
Yeah. And for me, I've not chased retail once, and it's not something I'm going to do. So there's always a secondary market. And if you took a look at what cards have dropped the most over the last 60 and 90 days, they're all LaMelo Ball. So in fact, I'll share this just because it's already up here. But this is what tells me, okay, stay away from new product, because when it's new, it's going to be more expensive. And when it's not new, it's going to be less expensive. So this is the last 60 days. Hoops SGC 10, Hoops PSA 10, Draft Picks PSA 10, minus 83, 79, 67, 67. So all of these, the top, 5 of the biggest drops are LaMelo, which just in a nutshell tells me if it's new, let it simmer. It's like a hot pie.
Yeah.
Let it cool on the windowsill. Do not jump into the hot pie. It's just going to be, you think it's going to be good, and it's going to be something that burns you. So
and I talked about it months ago, where it's like, everyone's excited about Prism basketball. If you can get some retail, great, but that stuff's going to drop like crazy. Once it comes out. I said in the video I was going to wait a year to buy it. I still haven't bought any Prism basketball because I'm not going to. I'm going to wait.
Look, the rule of thumb is if something is new and exciting, I want to stay away until it's not exciting, because the hype is built into new and exciting. So the rookies, the new sets, the new everything, let it just chill for a bit, and then I can assess what it really is when there's no excitement. Because what we've seen in August last year, what we saw in February, it's like fashion. It's new, it's hot, everyone wears it, and then it gets old, but then it recycles, and then it becomes good again. So same thing with football, same thing with vintage. It's going to have another moment. We saw Jordan cards in March of last year, and then it cooled down, nothing happened, and then January, February, there it is again. So think of it like fashion. But anyway, Dustin, thanks again for joining me. I think you did okay. Coleman really carried the show, but you were fine. You weren't worse than you normally are, so that's good.
I just brought snacks. So I was busy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you're committed, man. You're like, all right, guys, we got another guest, so I could just eat this trail mix from a sample cup and drink my fancy cappuccino from like a 4-ounce mug. But guys, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to check out Dustin's channel for whatever reason if you're not already doing that. And then Coleman as well. I'll link him up in the show notes below. And guys, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video. You want to say goodbye or no?
Oh, okay. See you guys.
There we go. Now I can end.